Hello and welcome. I'm glad you could join us as we continue our journey through the Bible. This week we'll continue our journey at the Sea of Galilee. We'll be looking at the events that are recorded in Matthew, the 14th chapter. 14th chapter starts out, we see where John the Baptist was arrested and beheaded, and the disciples came and told Jesus what had happened, and he got into a boat and tried to go to what the Bible refers to as a desert place. But it said that the multitudes followed him, he had compassion on them, he began to heal them. It also shows in verses 15 through 21 where he fed over 5,000 with 5 loaves and 2 fish. Where we want to concentrate this week is verses 22 through 33. If you would please, I'm going to join me as I read that. Again, I'm reading from the New King James. Starting verse 22, it says, "Immediately Jesus made his disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other side, while he sent the multitudes away. When he had sent the multitudes away, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. Now when evening came, he was alone there. But the boat was now in the middle of the sea, tossed by the waves, for the wind was contrary. Now in the 4th watch of the night, Jesus went to them walking on the sea. And when his disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, 'It is a ghost,' and they cried out for fear. But immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, 'Be of good cheer, it is I, do not be afraid.' And Peter answered him and said, 'Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water.' So he said, 'Come.' When Peter had come down out of the boat, he walked on the water to Jesus. But when he saw that the wind was boisterous, he was afraid and began to sink, and cried out, saying, 'Lord, save me.' Immediately Jesus stretched out his hand and caught him, and said, 'O you of little faith, why did you doubt?' When they got into the boat, the wind ceased. Then those who were in the boat came worshiping and worshipped him, saying, 'Truly you are the Son of God.'" We see so much happening in this chapter, and as we see where the disciples there, it says that they're now in the midst of the sea and they are tossed by waves in verse 24. And it says that Jesus came to them in the 4th watch of the night. The 4th watch of the night would have been somewhere between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. So they've probably been on the sea and fighting these winds, fighting these waves that are beating against the boat. They're tired and they think they see a ghost coming at them. And Jesus calms them and he says, "It's I, do not be afraid." Then we see Peter. He says, "If it is you, Lord, command me to come to you." In verse 30 and 31 is where we want to focus the rest of our time here together this week. It says that Peter was walking on the water. He came down out of the boat and he was walking on the water to Jesus until he got to looking around him. He saw the waves, he saw the winds, he began to be afraid, he began to sink. Verse 31, Jesus looks at him and says, "O you of little faith, why did you doubt?" Too many times today, many of us tend to be like Peter. Everything's fine as long as we're focused on Jesus. As long as we're focused on what God's Word tells us to do, everything's fine. We can handle anything life throws at us. But from time to time, we get to looking around at the world around us and everything that's going on. The waves that the world is sending at us, if you will. Often we talk to our teenagers at church and we ask them, is it easier to be a Christian when you're at camp surrounded by other Christians or when you're at school? Well, the resounding answer for that is when they're at camp and they're surrounded by other Christians. Unfortunately, we can't always be surrounded by Christians, but there are some things that we can do to help us stay focused on God, to keep our faith so that we don't become afraid and begin to sink in the world around us. 2 Timothy 2:15 tells us that we are to study, show ourselves approved unto God. We need to spend time every day with God's Word. Open His Word, study His Word, see what He wants from us. Look at the many miracles that were performed. Look at the many lessons that are there. Those lessons are still applicable today. Another thing that we can do, 2 Thessalonians 5:17, tells us to pray without ceasing. These two things together, studying God's Word and having a healthy prayer life, talking to God on a daily basis, these things will help us stay focused, and when the world does come in around us, it'll help us keep us from becoming afraid, from losing our faith and beginning to sink like Peter did. I hope this lesson was helpful, and I hope that you'll join us again. Also, come and see us at the Union Church of Christ. We meet at 9:30 for Bible study on Sunday morning, 10:30 for worship, 6 p.m. on Sunday nights for worship, and 7 p.m. on Wednesday nights for midweek Bible study. Again, thank you for joining us. I look forward to seeing you soon.